Christmas is over. It's time for the Tar Heels to get back to work.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, December 27th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I want to thank you sincerely for making us your first listen or watch of the day. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Check it all out at FanDuel.com. I want to say a hearty hello to all our everydayers who are joining us, the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course, our Locked On Tar Heels insiders. Welcome in. Let's get after it. On the episode today, got two big games this weekend. Big games. We got games this weekend. I guess I'll say it that way. Carolina on Sunday night. It's like a Sunday night game. Thankfully, it's not a school night, but Carolina hosting Campbell to wrap up the non-con slate. We'll have our Four Corners preview, introduce you to Campbell a little bit, and talk about what I'm looking forward to at a big picture level for that one. And then we got our bowl preview, Fenway Bowl, the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, Saturday morning early. Weird kick time. We'll talk about all that, get you ready for the weekend and our weekend whip around. It's quiet outside. There's just like, in addition to that, it's women's basketball and wrestling. That's it this weekend. All right, let's start talking about Campbell. And at the big picture level, Carolina is coming off the UCLA win. It's been, by the time they tip on Sunday, it will have been 8 days. But Carolina needs to ride the momentum they picked up there. This is not the time to play around. This is a time to end non-con play on a high note. It's funny because it turns out to be pretty similar to last year. Carolina's final non-con game was against Charleston Southern, who on paper was Carolina's worst opponent of the entire season. Same thing here. When the season started, it was American on paper. That was Carolina's worst opponent, but the trajectory has changed a little bit. And now it is Campbell, that is the lowest rated opponent Carolina will play this season. And so what I want to see from the Tar Heels is to come back from this winter break. According to Adam Lucas, I think in his write-up after UCLA, he said Carolina was coming back to campus on the night of the 26th, getting a couple workouts in and getting ready for this game. So yes, this on paper, again, is the lowest rated team you play, but it is, you must take them seriously. There is no margin because of the 5 losses. That's just the fact of the matter. And then when you look ahead, which Carolina shouldn't yet, but when you and I do at what's looming in ACC play, 3 of the first 4 games of the ACC play, not counting the Georgia Tech game, but of the main chunk of ACC play, are on the road. Carolina's got to take, next week on New Year's Day, Carolina will be at Louisville. Then that Saturday, they got to go to Notre Dame. They host SMU, and then there's another road game right after that. Not very far, just down the road to Raleigh, but still 3 out of 4 road games to start the main chunk of ACC play. Carolina's got to be ready, and this is the jump start to do it tomorrow against Sunday against Campbell. I got to get in my head, it's not a Saturday game, it's a Sunday game, right? We're so used to that. So what I'm looking for is one of the big statistical issues in some of the losses and throughout the majority of the high major teams Carolina has played that I want to see Carolina to take advantage of in order to maximize getting ready for ACC play. And that is minimizing turnovers and maximizing assists. Here's what I mean with the turnovers. In the first 4 games of the year, Carolina was in single digits in turnovers. And I get it, right? It's Kansas. And then 3 mid to low major teams, Elon, American, and Hawaii. So I hear that. But in all 8 games after those first 4, 7 of which against high major opponents, plus LaSalle, Carolina has had double-digit turnovers in every one of those games. Now, part of that, as I said, is the competition. 3 of the first 4 games were mid-major. 7 of the 8 since are high major. So I get it. But unfortunately, another part of it is the head of the snake for Carolina, and that's your point guard, man. And unfortunately for Elliot, that same first 4, most recent 8 demarcation is directly tied to him. In the first 4 games of the season, Elliot was averaging 1.75 turnovers a game. And again, competition. I hear that. In the 8 games since, Elliot's averaging 4.13 turnovers per game. So almost like 3.5 more turnover, 2.75, 3.75, 4. No, like 2.5, excuse me. Anyway, a lot more than 2 more turnovers a game average games. The most 8 recent games. He's got to tighten up, and so does the team. And I don't mean like play tight. They gotta find the balance of playing loose. And I'm fine with those kind of turnovers. What needs to be tightened up is the just silly throwaway turnovers, or the silly, like Saturday against UCLA, 3 different turnovers where Carolina is just standing on the sideline. Just cannot have those kind of turnovers. And then assists, right? We talked earlier in the week about Carolina's negative assist to turnover ratio in the 8 games that they've played against high major opponents. That's got to change. So part of it is mitigating and minimizing turnovers. And part of it is just continuing to learn to play more capably and efficiently together. Swinging the ball, find the best looks. Like, yeah, I get it when you're spreading the court like Carolina is. A lot of it is just going to be like one-on-one, I'm taking you. But man, it makes things so much more efficient in the half court if you can just find each other better. And that's part of what we're looking for. So I don't care that it's Campbell on the other side of the floor. Carolina has to prove that they can operate at a high level. And I think a big part of that starts with assists and turnovers. So watch for that tomorrow. That's like Four Corners preview appetizer, right? We haven't even gotten to Four Corners preview yet. All right, let's get to know Campbell a little bit. Again, this game's Sunday to 2 days from now, December 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern on ACC Network. Don't have the FanDuel line yet, but Carolina is favored by 26 at KenPom. So again, big wide margin, but you got to go out and do it. According to my research, this is the first meeting between these two teams. I haven't read the team notes yet, so I'm not positive on that. But Campbell's coach is Kevin McGeehan. He's been at Campbell since the 2013-14 season, so this is his 12th season. As for Campbell, I already said it, not a very good team this season. They were picked even preseason, 13th out of the 14 teams in the CAA. Right now, they're 316th in the net, making this firmly a quad 4 game. They're 297 at KenPom. And so, just not rated highly. So far this season, they are 5-7. So truly not that much different of a record than North Carolina, but against much different competition. Of their 5 wins, only 3 of them are against Division I opponents, and that's Navy, Green Bay, and the Citadel, all of whom are ranked outside the top 300 at KenPom. Their losses are to Virginia, to Ohio State, and then just a whole mess of other lowly ranked teams. So there's that, right? On paper, this should be a blowout. But again, I want to see Carolina crisp and controlled and ready to go. The main player to watch is Jason Sinani, a 6'3" guard. He's their only double-digit scorer, getting 12.4 a game. Their usual starters, in addition to Sinani, are Nolan Dorsey, Colby Duggan, Taryn Frank, and Cam Gregory. Also, that starting group has been the last 3 games. They had another starting 5 that has started the majority of the games this season, but we'll see what happens. The only difference is Caleb Zerline instead of Colby Duggan in the starting lineup. So we'll watch for that. One thing where they really stand out statistically, Campbell, is that they are like elite in converting at the free throw line, 16th in the nation, hitting 79.8% of their free throws. Now, their free throw rate, they're not like elite at that same level. So, you got to stay away, though, from sending them to the free throw line because they're going to convert when they're there. Carolina, we've talked so much this year about their defense. That's going to be a key. Can you, A, defend, and can you, B, defend without fouling? We'll be watching for that. There's another Four Corners preview appetizer for you. You're welcome. I gave you 2 freebies today in segment 1. All right, guys. You can probably take the words right out of my mouth. But as we get to our actual Four Corners preview, what's number one on the list? Carolina needs to get off to a fast start. Tired of hearing it? I'm tired of saying it. And I'm sure the Tar Heels are tired of not doing it. But we're going to see. We'll give you the Four Corners preview coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Rocket Mortgage and their great service called Rocket Money. Has Rocket Money helped you find any subscriptions you forgot about or maybe that you were paying for twice? That's definitely helped a lot of people I know who had a few subscriptions they didn't even realize they were paying for. Rocket Money made it so easy for them to track them down, kind of like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money, it's a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your subscriptions, yes, but also helps you monitor your spending, helps lower your bills so that you can work on growing your savings. What Rocket Money does is bring everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals that you want to hit this year, your financial goals. Rocket Money, what's cool is like you can trust it because they have over 5 million users and have saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year each when using all of the app's premium features. So go ahead, cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked on today. Again, that's rocketmoney.com/locked on. Oh man, my favorite part of a preview show, it's the Four Corners preview, our ode to Coach Dean Smith, where I give you 4 things to watch for as Carolina heads into their next game. Obviously, it's against Campbell, who we've been talking about. These are just 4 things that I hope can make you a smarter and more informed fan as you watch this game. Number 1, if you've been with me, if you've been listening to anything, you don't even need me to tell you this. Number 1 thing we're watching for, can Carolina get a fast start? And you might think, hey, Isaac, it's just Campbell. They're very lowly rated. They're a CAA team. Carolina is going to be fine. They'll get off to a fast start. To which I'll remind you that against LaSalle a couple Saturdays ago, Carolina fell behind 8-2 to LaSalle. So it's not just these high major teams. Carolina has to come out gunning in this one as well. It's an opportunity to instill confidence in yourselves that you can do it as you prepare for ACC play, and to instill confidence in the fan base and the national media and selection committee and everybody watching that you can start strong, that you have the ability to do that, you're not just having to feel stuff out and get there. So I don't know what that means for Carolina. We've talked ad nauseum about how to fix this. I would love to see them come out with like purpose and intentionality. Maybe it's running a set to get a confidence building bucket. Would love to see like I don't know, something run for a backdoor oop. Maybe get somebody. Well, Ian probably won't be on the court. Maybe, who knows? But maybe get RJ or Seth Trimble going downhill to get a bucket. Maybe Drake Powell scored the first bucket of the UCLA game, right? Like, let's see something like that. But I want to see Carolina attack the rim. Number 2 in our Four Corners preview. What about that lineup? I just, postulated at Ian. Will we see more 4-guard lineups as we did against UCLA? Will we see Ian Jackson in the starting lineup? Regardless of whether we do or not, will we see him continue to play starters minutes, which he's done quite a bit here in the most recent 6 games, all of which he's played 20 minutes or more, culminating in last Saturday's game against UCLA, where he played a career high 32 minutes, the second most on the team. So yeah, whether he starts or not, Ian Jackson is going to play starters minutes. What I'm watching for specifically with the starting 5, each game of the last 4, starting with the Georgia Tech game, has been the same 3 guards that have started every game this season: Elliot, RJ, and Seth, along with Drake Powell and Van Allen Lubin. That's been the starting 5 the last 4 games. But let me remind you, against UCLA, Coach Davis made a switch at halftime, kept 3G, and then inserted Ian Jackson for Drake Powell and for Van Allen Lubin. Now, you often hear Coach Davis talk. When he'll talk, he'll say, hey, we've got a script for the first half that we want to see. And then second half, we're going off of feel or who's in the flow of the game, those kind of things. This is, in fact, the second time now this season where he's come out with a different starting lineup in the second half and then not made a change in the starting 5 the next game. So I'm not saying, hey, there was that different starting 5 in the second half against UCLA. Look for that in the first half. But it is something to keep an eye out for to see if he does make any changes. And then as you watch this game, don't just watch the starting five. Watch for the combos as the game goes on, right? Does Carolina go really small with like Jalen Withers as the five along with four guards? What do things look like? What groups are playing the best together? Your eyes can often tell you like, oh, that group looks smooth and fluid. They get each other. That matters. Which group is moving the ball the best? We talked about that earlier with the assists, right? Like who's getting the ball moving and going and not sticking, because that's probably the quintet that's going to be the most efficient scoring the basketball. We're looking for those things. Who defends the most tenaciously as a group? All of that kind of stuff. Number 3 in the four corners preview, RJ Davis breakout season. Am I right? Look, we've had 2 games this year where RJ has been at or close to 30, 29 against Florida. Still inefficient from 3, but had a great game. Other than that, 8 rebounds, 4 steals in that game. That was great stuff from RJ. Had another game earlier in the year where he had 30 points, right? There is some of that. But for example, I just want to see RJ go nuts from deep. The most threes he's had in a game this season is 4, and did that just once. Like, I want to see him get like 6 or 7 threes in this game. And, we've often talked about the dichotomy of Cade Tyson, right? Like LaSalle, North Carolina career high for him. It's those games, those mid-major games where he's excelled, and the other games where he hasn't. And so it's not just like for RJ, like, oh, it's a lower opponent, so I want to see him do well. It's like, I just want RJ to be able to play and flow and be RJ. And so, man, maybe this could be a jump start into ACC play. So I'm watching for that. And basically, I want the production of the Florida game with everything I was just talking about, but with more efficiency from 3. Poor guy, sitting at like 25% from 3. Still crazy to me that that's a reality, but that's where we're at. Four corners preview point number 4. Height is going to play a weird role in this game with an advantage in different ways potentially for both teams. Here's what I mean. This is another through line of this entire season. Carolina is short in the backcourt, 6 foot, 6'3", and 6'1". RJ 6 foot, Elliot 6'1", Seth 6'3". Advantage Campbell in the backcourt where they go 6'3", 6'5", 6'5". They're starting 5. I don't know if I gave you the heights or not as we talked about them. They're starting 5, 6'3", 6'5", 6'5", 6'7", 6'8". Isn't that an interesting makeup of their starting 5? Heels just cannot match up in the backcourt. Like, that's a 6-foot guy against a 6'3" guy, a 6'1" guy against a 6'5" guy, a 6'3" guy against 6'5". Carolina doesn't measure up there. Now, they're used to it because that's what they're dealing with all season long, but there's, they're going to have to contend with that in this game. However, interestingly, as we think about the front court, advantage Carolina from a height standpoint. The tallest player in Campbell's rotation, like their top 10 players in terms of minutes per game, their tallest player in that top 10 is 6'8". So that's where Carolina can have some advantages. That should allow Carolina more opportunities to continue trying out these 4-guard lineups to see how they can contend in that regard. But also, it's the rare opportunity this season where, Jalen Washington, Van Allen, Ty Claude, like they could have opportunities to really get some production there in the front court, like just normal post-up game or things like that, like big opportunities. Let's see if Carolina can take advantage of it. So I'm curious to see how these weird height discrepancies in this game, which way they favor and which team can take advantage of that the most. All right, Carolina bowl game coming up this week, or tomorrow, actually Saturday, and our weekend whip around. We get you ready for women's basketball and wrestling, all of that coming up to close out today's show. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, the NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the NFL action this regular season with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers, you can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Man, what's so cool about FanDuel, they got a bunch of different ways for you to get a W. In this Fenway Bowl coming up tomorrow, the Tar Heels are favored by 2.5. But what's cool is FanDuel gives you so many different lines on all these bowl games. Here's some other examples. Not only can you take the total over-under for the two teams combined, you can do it individually. Carolina's offensive points total is set at 27.5. Or you could look at the result of Carolina's first drive of the game. Offensive touchdown is plus 195. A field goal attempt is plus 480. A punt, plus 115. Yikes, that's the most likely to happen, apparently. Or any other result, plus 600. That's cool. That's a fun kind of thing to get in on there, that little prop bet. If you want to check that out or anything else, visit FanDuel.com today for your chance to win $250 in bonus bets. Again, make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Woo, it's bowl season. North Carolina against UConn up in Boston at the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. I didn't know like a food could be the bowl sponsor, but I guess they are. That's just, like the Cheez-It Bowl. That's like, yeah, it's a food, but it's a company, a corporation. Wasabi? Like, are we just talking about like the stuff that makes sushi spicy? Like that is the sponsor? Okay, cool. I love it. I'm all in on wasabi, man. When I get my sushi, I like to put a bunch of wasabi down in my soy sauce and swirl it around and then dip my oh, baby, come on now. I'm all in favor of the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. Anyway, Carolina favored by 2.5 points in this game. Irregular kick time, 11 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. So that's probably what it is. It's just this whole day of games, and this is the early game. Woof. Reminder, Carolina has made a bowl every year of the Mac Brown 2.0 era, which, I guess we could technically still call this the wrap up of that, even though Coach Brown won't be coaching. The frustrating thing is that literally the only one of those games Carolina won was in year one, 2019. It's time to atone, time to get a dub to wrap up the season, especially like it's been a minute, but Carolina losing back-to-back to end the regular season in heartbreaking fashion again against NC State, and then just getting blitzed by Boston College. Man, that was ugly. That was so ugly, right? And we had some hope coming into that, like Carolina could finish this thing 8-4. Oh no, Boston College just took our lunch money. Oh, and NC State again because Carolina can't defend. Oh man, it's just like that's the last football feelings we're dealing with. And I think it's been easy to forget it because of Coach Brown getting fired and because of the Belichick of it all. But here we go. Time to win a football game, man. Reminder, Freddie Kitchens is leading the way. He's the interim coach for this game. And as we know, at least as I record this, we still don't know what his position will be, but he will be on the new staff. Coach Galloway is going to be leading up the offense for this game because remember, Chip Lindsey's out the door as well. UConn, their record is better than Carolina at 8-4, but not all records are equally. Let me remind you that. Here are the wins that UConn has. Their 8 wins. Merrimack, FAU, Buffalo, Temple, Rice, Georgia State, UAB, and UMass. Yeah. Their losses, tell me if this sounds familiar. Maryland, Duke, Wake, Syracuse. Clear demarcation line. Every Power 4 opponent they've played, they've lost. Every non-Power 4 opponent they've played, they've won. So you're kind of right smack dab in the middle there. Time to go take them out to lunch and take their lunch money or make them pay for, I don't know, whatever. Time to beat UConn, right? What to watch for? Here we go. Quick on it. Number one, man, just go out and ball in this game, right? Like if you're not playing in a college football playoff game, you really don't have anything to play for other than pride or getting another win or, padding your stats. If we're being honest, from a program standpoint, it's great because you get a couple extra weeks of practice. That's the biggest win in it. But what do you got to lose? You know what I mean? Just go out and ball. Like if I'm Lonnie Galloway calling plays, man, like let's just have fun. Just take the pressure off and go do it. And you got to be ready. Early kick. In freezing cold Boston, the high is 40, the low is 32. I guess it could be much worse, so that's actually not that terribly bad, but still. Number 2, what to watch for. This is audition time for a lot of these players. So often, these are the games where guys show out. Like, I feel like it was a bowl game where, like, Josh Downs broke out for the first time, right? Like, it's that kind of thing we're talking about. Because typically, a lot of the players that are going to be preparing for NFL stuff or entering the transfer portal, they're not playing in these games. And so if you've been the second string guy, here you go, baby. Buckle up. Let's do it. So prime example for me, Omarion Hampton not playing in this game. Davion Gause, Goss, let's go. Right? That is critical and key. And so for a lot of players, it's like, hey, man, this is my time to show coach what I can do. Because keep in mind, Coach Belichick's coming in, and there's going to be a lot of turnover. And so you're auditioning for your role to show that you belong. So Davion Goss, you want to be the bell cow next year? Prove it. Just run all over UConn. Number 3, it's like I know Kamen Rucker out hurt. Other guys not playing in the bowl game. Carolina's defense, man, this is an opportunity to gain yourself back some respect. Let's remember the second half of the NC State game literally didn't get a single stop. A lot of that is Kamen Rucker had gotten hurt. But still, this is your moment. Go out and do it. Prove that you belong. Number 4 in the what to watch for, set yourself up for next season. Right? Whereas I said, really, you're just playing for pride, pad your stats, audition, whatever. And while next year will be a strikingly different cast of players and characters, they'll all be wearing the same uniforms. And I just think there's something with the coaching change and regime change and other stuff where it's like, if you can get a win, it just gets a little bit of some good juju going. So you're heading into next season on a winning streak. You know what I mean? And especially after some of the losses of this year, James Madison, goodness gracious, the Duke choke job, the getting embarrassed by Boston College, losing a tight one to NC State again, right? Like getting a win would matter here. All right, weekend whip around. Only 2 other teams in action. Women's basketball kicks off ACC play. Similar to the men, they've already played an ACC game. They lost to Georgia Tech at home. They traveled to Miami. That's Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern on ACC Network. So that's kind of cool because both the women and men are on ACC Network on Sunday. And the ladies need redemption from losing that game to Georgia Tech. Got to get it. Miami, 11-1. They're 1-0 in ACC play. So it'd be nice to go down there to Coral Gables and knock them off. Wrestling is in Coralville, Iowa this weekend. The Soldier Salute, that'll take place on Sunday and Monday. And that's it. The bowl game, both basketball teams and wrestling. That's it for this weekend. And then stuff will start picking back up as we get into the new year. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, please do so on YouTube. Click that subscribe button, man. Become one of the 10,000. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers in 3 years of the show. We're like 500 people away and we got 2 months to do it. Come on, man. Help us out. Hit that subscribe button. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders or Discord, those links are in the show notes. A great way to become even more involved with the show and to connect with me directly to become an insider. Lots of other perks there as well. Y'all, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. I'll be traveling home from Christmas travels tomorrow after the football game, but I think I'm going to get back and be able to do a live postcast just maybe a little bit later because the game's so stinking early. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Definitely, though, after the men's game on Sunday night. All right. Always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk soon, but until then,